Hey gardeners, Amy here with Garden Up, and with me today is Alan. Once again, I'm so excited to have you back. Thank you so much. So today we are going to be pruning my weeping cherry tree. When I bought this house, this tree was already here. Whoever planted it, I don't know who, I assume the former homeowner, whatever, but they planted it less than 4 feet from the house. I'm sure it was little and cute at the time, but there was no long-term planning put into that location. So for me, I've had quite a job of keeping it trained and off the house and all this stuff. And I actually managed to turn it into like an arbor walkway, like you go under it, which is really cool. So I have 4 goals for pruning this tree today. Because whenever you prune something, you want to know what your end game is, right? So 4 goals. The first one is if I can't walk under it without hitting my head on things, then I know that it's too far down and tall people don't stand a chance. So that's thing 1, I need to reestablish the archway. Thing 2 is that the branches in the front here are blocking my sprinkler from getting back into the corner, so my shade plants aren't getting any water. So that's a problem. Thing 3 is there's a few branches that are growing all up in the eaves and getting out of, they're just too big. Okay, they're just getting too close to the house. They're going to cause rubbing and damaging on both the house and on themselves. And then thing 4, and this is the thing that made me like realize I need Alan's help. But thing 4 is that this tree, along with so many others in Spokane this year, has developed shot hole fungus. And so I'm going to have Alan talk about what shot hole fungus is. So originally we were going to do both of these topics in one video, but we realized that that's just going to make this way too long, and so we're going to separate. So this is the video on pruning a cherry tree. If you want to learn more about shot hole fungus, because this is a really important topic, you want to know about this if you have any prunus trees, make sure to stay tuned. I'll post that video next week.
There's a couple dead branches under here that dead doesn't grow, so we're going to get those out of there.
Yep.
But after that, it's looking at what's coming down and how do we get it going where we want it to do, or if it's not going to be able to go where we want it to do, how do we keep it from coming back into our way? So starting here at the entryway, got a lot of these branches coming down in our face, and there have been some former pruning cuts made over here, which are great. Cuts are perfect on them.
Yep.
Did a great job there, but they didn't really stop the branches coming down where we want it.
No, they guide it. I was trying to guide it off to the side, but it's a short-term fix.
There will never be a really permanent long-term fix unless you go all the way back to a branch union and totally remove that branch that's sending the branches in your way.
Which defeats the purpose.
Right. But the short-term fixes work out really, really, really well over a long term, which is sounds counterproductive, but the whole thing about the short term is every time there's somebody coming your way and you prune it off favoring somebody going somewhere else, you continuously, over short-term fixes, direct it where you want it.
Yep.
So you end up with, in the long run, the branch growing where you want it. So looking at some of these little guys up here, we got a little straggler hanging down from way up above. That's really not in a good place altogether. Let's see about making the cut higher up to direct it outward and kind of make it the next layer of canopy out here in the future.
Yeah. And maybe if we can make it go more towards the front yard and less towards the walkway, that would be better.
I think we can do that. I see a good little branch right up here. And what I've done is cut it so that there's a branch heading out that direction. And here we have a little guy dangling down. He's gonna go.
One thing that I always make sure to never do is the bowl haircut. Do you remember in the, was it the 90s?
The Beatles.
Yeah, when your mom put a bowl on your head and that was your haircut? Don't do that with your cherry trees.
They look goofy.
Yeah.
They look goofy.
You want to make sure to make each cut at a different height so that it's varied and it looks natural. And each cut should also be correct at a node with a secondary branch that's a sizable comparison to the one you're cutting. So now here's one. I want to go to this larger lateral, but I don't really want that larger lateral, so I'm going to go up to this one, I think.
Dangling down into the plants, we need to clear for the water. Coming towards our pathway, we don't really want that. Another long one going down, eventually going to block plants. The cut above it, coming back towards the pathway, So we're going to favor the one that's shorter going out towards the yard.
But it's still a good size comparison
Still good size.
to the branch that we're cutting. Yeah.
And there it is.
Excellent.
We'll go up a little bit higher than I would normally go
Yeah.
because there's a good branch above it and it'll give us more growth room.
Yeah. And that's exactly one of the ones that's been causing me grief right there.
How about that?
Yeah.
Pruning is literally choices and a little bit of experience about what you want to do with the plant overall.
Yeah.
You gave me a couple little tips. I want to raise this up so that you can get water through, make this an archway to go through, and after that, you and I can prune it exactly the same because a little bit of experience in pruning, but also knowing what the end goal is, we're going to be very similar in our methodology.
Exactly.
Pruning is so easy. It gets talked about a lot more complex than it needs to be.
Yeah. Don't overcomplicate things.
Simple.
I like
Mostly
your
it's just-
idea of preliminarily taking these ones out because this is going to be in my
Eventually.
face
Yep.
in a few more weeks, right? And then,
Well,
oh look, there's a
a couple
stub.
more seasons.
Somebody else left a stub. That wasn't me.
We're going to blame the previous homeowner because they're not here. Or I could prune the one that my head is walking into.
Yeah, you might start with that.
Little headroom. Not going to be a lot of ways to get some good growth going outward from in here because of how dense it is. But we're going to do our best to structure this with that intent in mind. Long run approaches as necessary. All the buds that I'm pruning towards point outward.
Now here's another challenge that I've run into since doing this, is I've been training the branches to grow out in an arch, but now it's out in the driveway. So I almost need to like shear it back, and I don't even know how to. That one I haven't figured out yet.
So the challenge we've got here is that the branches have been going outward and weeping just like we wanted, but now they're getting too far. What do we do about that? The answer is prune it back and encourage it to grow back out where it was. So like this branch here.
Yeah.
Look at this nice long branch here that's coming out, and this part here is great for where it's weeping. This part here coming out too much. Okay, well let's look forward 5 years from now. If we prune this off here, what's going to happen? These other branches back here are going to want to grow. These branches here are going to want to send branches out, okay? Favor what you want. Prune off what you don't. It's kind of like a great sculptor said, I just find myself a rock and then prune away everything that doesn't look like the thing inside that I want.
Yeah.
Okay, it's basically the same principle. This is what I don't want. Let's make it ready to go away. So we'll come up here, we'll prune it at a nice junction. Okay, now we've got branches that we do want.
So we could almost make like a choice. I'm going to walk this way, or this way, and this little bit of dangly could stay, and that's not in anybody's way at that point.
Right.
Ooh,
And
I like it.
following years, as this wants to branch out and thicken up and do what trees do, you just prune off what's in the way. Encourage it to go, keep encouraging it to go. And when eventually there will come a day where maybe this is too much in the way, too much, it's time to make it go away. So do it. Encourage something else to replace it later on. On a bigger branch like this guy here, which is heading towards the truck, you need to look at a slightly bigger goal. How much above and out do we want it? This is a good sized branch coming out here. We don't really want to just take this whole branch off and let's say, hey, let's start over. So that's kind of a waste. What can we do to keep the branch, keep it in shape, keep it out of the way? Well, weight reduction. This is a wonderful thing. When you prune off weight towards the end, it'll make the branch lift up because it doesn't have to support that anymore. That's also helpful. So to start with on this guy here, let's look at just a couple of the little guys that are really massive, got a lot of mass to them. Let's just take off a couple of the thicker parts. Watch what happens. We go up here, take one little branch. We thin this out considerably already. Given a lot more space, it's lifted up, which might not seem like much, but lift is lift.
I've done that, so that has been my lifesaver for pruning this so many times.
Room.
Oh, this is interesting. This looks like a sucker. The lateral is almost as big as the one it's coming off of.
Actually, it's not.
So it's not a sucker.
No, it's just vigorous growth.
Okay.
The main reason I say this is largely because it's got two smaller branches coming off the side. These guys are notorious for fairly long growth. If it was a sucker, these side branches wouldn't even be there. And this would be actually almost the exact same size as this. But the fact that there's also another branch below it that's about the same size, this branch here,
yeah,
coming off the growth below it, it's about the same size. So that tells me that no, it's actually, it's just vigorous, not actually a
So it's not a water sprout.
Because the vigorous suckers, I loved that term when I first heard it. The water sprouts, the suckers, they take up all the energy they can possibly manage. And they will virtually equal the same size stem they're coming off of. Because they've got all the growth hormones, they got everything. They're totally just saying,
I've seen
it's
them
me,
bigger.
baby.
Yeah, I've seen them bigger than the stem they're coming off of.
Yep. So no, it's good size. This is good vigorous growth, good healthy growth, but it's actually not a sucker.
Oh.
Suckers on a weeping cherry that you don't ever want. The ones that grow straight up and
they're
are below
the
the grafting point. The graft, everything above this is the original weeping cherry. Everything below this point is a regular cherry. You let these grow, they will go straight up through, dominate the tree, take all the energy away from everything you want to keep, and before you know it, you have a tree that's mostly flowering white with a little bit of weeping pink skirt.
Yeah.
I've seen that. It's funny. It's all get out.
Oh, it's hilarious. I literally left those exactly so you could say that
But
thing.
definitely, if you see them on a weeping cherry, specifically weeping cherry, weeping anything really.
Yeah.
If you see a branch coming out and going straight up with no weep, needs to come out close and flush to the trunk as possible. Just like that. I would go ahead and favor this one, not so much the one in the front of it.
Okay.
Because this one's going more straight down, this one's going more out, and this one will give us some ability to kind of shape it that direction in the long run of things.
And I kind of want, like these, like I might nip the end off of this one just to kind of make it, I want it to grow more towards the house at this point, because this is the walkway. So this is like the border
I
of
would
the
almost
walkway.
say then, the one that's actually encroaching this array,
We should take that out
just completely, just don't even mess with it.
Yep.
You know, there'll be replacements, don't worry.
Yeah, oh yeah. Not worried about that, not by any means. All right, let's go ahead and lift up a little more right here so that you can walk under there and get to the pathway.
All right.
It's still going to hit you in the face if you need to get to my house from here.
Here we have an interesting branch.
I'm going to aim this
Most of it is going up into the house, and what isn't is going back underneath the canopy. Overall, not what I would call a desirable branch in any respect. This one needs to come off at the trunk. Quite a lot came out with one, but these were going back into the tree, creating rubbing and abrading spots. And this part here is all growing along the house, so nothing good in any of that. The vast majority of this big branch here is on the house. It's about 2 inches in diameter, been a bit vigorous than the main growth coming down. The better branch is the lower one, is doing more what we wanted. So we're going to make a bigger branch go away. Whenever you're cutting a larger branch, never just saw it straight off. Cut it out about 6 inches with an undercut to take away some of the rip and tear possibility. And you just saw off a small distance, cut a little ways. You don't have to go hugely far, Because what the point of this cut is to snap. You want this to actually be a break point. We're going to cut it further up the branch on the top side, and as the branch's weight brings it down, this cut is going to snap and drop. If this cut wasn't here, what would happen is when this thing finally did want to come down, it would tear the bark along the trunk a long way. Bad juju. So now that we've done the undercut, start with the top side, and here we go. There it goes. Now we get rid of the rest of that.
Nice angle.
I was kind of making my monkey impressions. I want to be like you. The tricky part right now is trying not to take out something I don't want in order to get rid of the things that need to go.
Pretty good here now.
Yep, I'm mostly just now working on the eaves through here and making sure that nothing is going over and nothing's making contact and eliminating any would-be contact.
Do you want my step stool?
What step stool?
Okay, fine. Wow, eh?
No more ducking.
Yay! Alan can walk through it, which means I have no problem.
6 foot.
Yay! All right. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for watching that video. I hope you learned something and it was a good value to you. Thank you so much, Alan, for joining and helping me film this. Yay, this was so much fun. And he got all the tall stuff that I can't really get right now. So that was very good.
I don't know why.
Anyway, so remember to hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you have any questions. I'll see you in the garden.
Have yourself a good one.